Yolanda, a bit of a shaky start this morning. We also saw some volatility in the Asian markets. It appears that investors are waiting to hear what US Fed Chairman Ben Bernanke tells Congress tomorrow about interest rates.
Yes, Stephen, quite important. They have raised the interest rate, the Federal Reserve rate, so investors still very cautious ahead of that. But in light of the high unemployment, I think they're going to be fairly cautious about raising interest rates, but also very important for the market to see exactly what the forecast is for the year, their global forecast.
Of course, we're looking for inflation figures ourselves here this week. CPI coming out tomorrow and PPI on Thursday. Today, though, we had those GDP figures for the fourth quarter of last year and showing stronger than expected growth, coming in at 3.2% on the quarter, and really expectations looking for around 2.5% to 3%. So quite good news.
Very good news, Stephen, and we see it's probably being supported by the manufacturing number, and we saw a bit of a leading indicator, the PMI, that as the last PMI figures had moved into just over zero, which is positive, and we see it off the back of inventory rebuilding, and they're probably seeing an indication of increased demand. And what they're really doing is they're hoping that the demand is going to follow through, so taking a leapfrog ahead in terms of the demand that they're seeing, and hopefully they're going to see that coming through. Very quite rand supportive, which is obviously positive for our GDP going forward in terms of forecasts.
Of course, we saw the rand strengthening to around 768 from around 774 earlier in the session. Yolanda, a whole slew of results out today. Let's take a look at a few of those. We had Mondi, the paper maker. Headline earnings a share down 44% to 11.4 euro cents. Of course, this number had been flagged in a previous trading update.
Yes, Stephen, a very, very good result for them, and we see the markets really like that. They've increased their dividend, reduced net debt, they've increased their cash flows, very positive, and really an indication that they've done well to reduce their costs, and we are possibly coming out of a trough, so we're seeing the possible turn in the markets, and very good for them. Very nice results.
Of course, we see the share price up 4% at the moment, trading around 46 rand 30. And of course, it is quite cautious in saying that future performance will largely depend on the pace and the extent of the global economic recovery. So very much in the same position as SAPI, really needs to see some sort of recovery and a pickup in advertising revenue.
Yes, Stephen, but looking at those numbers, still very good numbers. A lot of companies have come out with good results, beating expectations, all with caution. In real terms, companies don't want to jump the gun and say they're going to be expecting X amount and then they don't deliver. What's important, obviously, is if we do see global demand increasing. We saw GDP numbers out of the States better. We saw our own GDP numbers coming out today, all positive signs. If we do see consumers coming through into the new year, very good numbers for them going forward.
Well, another company that's quite cautious in its outlook, Shoprite. This share was up a couple of percent yesterday ahead of the results, came under pressure this morning after those results were released. Headline earnings a share up 13.3%, turnover up 11.9%. Your view on those results, Yolanda?
Stephen, really excellent results. They've gained market share, they've increased their dividend, and for the first time they've mentioned or disclose their margin, that their non-SA margin that they've received still at 5%, which is far better in terms of your food inflation. Very good results, and you can see that they are benefiting from consumers moving from other food retailers, definitely gaining market share there, and we see they've done a lot of advertising last year, which has really paid off for them.
Okay, also, we're running out of time, so Wilson Bailey and Northern Platinum, results out of those two companies as well. Wilson Bailey shares up at 2% earlier in the session, so the market quite liking those results.
Stephen, both results excellent. In fact, Northern, we had expected no dividend there. We saw a dividend being announced. Wilson Bailey increase in dividend, very good numbers from both companies. You know, we feel that there's a risk on the upside for Northam. The share seems to be fully priced at the moment, still cautious with the rand volatility. They're seeing a bit of costing coming through, their higher costing, but both really good numbers for both stocks and really positive for them in this kind of environment.